Hey everyone, it's the R. Shawn. Welcome to an edition of Influencer of Tomorrow, our interview series where we look at people who are influential in the world now and are making an impact on the future and building their plans to be influencers of tomorrow in a goal to bring you the lessons that you can use in your business to become an influencer of tomorrow. With me today is Lea Woodford, who's agreed to join us. She owns the SmartFem Media Group and various other channels related to SmartFem. She's going to be talking to us primarily about how do you build a presence, how do you build a following, and we'll probably get into a little bit of her speaking and her other activities she's been doing. George Hendley, my co-host, is with me. We've undertaken this Influencer of Tomorrow project. We both have various backgrounds. George is a speaking coach. He helps people build their influence through that channel, and we're really looking to collect great stories to help more people do more of what they want. I'm a corporate lawyer by training, help people with their ownership and control issues of their business, and I also help businesses achieve their goals. And a lot of my time centers around speaking and working with people and communicating to get these great lessons out there. So that's our background. That's why we're interested in it. But we really want to dive in and get to know Lea a little bit and let you guys get to know her and what she's doing. So welcome to the show, Lea.
Oh, nice to be here. And I apologize. I have my own co-host today.
Yeah, it's awesome.
This is Abby the Smart Pup.
Yes, we like Abby a lot. So Abby's sweet and she's wonderful. So that's one of probably the great things about building an influence business. You get a little more control over your time and a little more control over your creative energy, right, Lea?
Oh, absolutely. And when we started, I was working from home. Now, of course, I don't work from home very often, but wanted to chat with you today from home because once I'm in the office, there's distractions and people want to talk to you. So just thought I'd catch up with you guys right here.
Well, you've opened a brand new studio for SmartFem at the office, which is looking wonderful. For people who haven't seen the photos, you can check out the SmartFem Entrepreneur Network group on Facebook. And she's got some photos and uploads of that wonderful thing. And that's going to help you talk to more people and really do more of what you've been doing already, right, Lea?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, it was just a smart business move. We will continue to do a lot of on location, but by having our own studio, first of all, it's great for branding, but it also helps us manage our production costs.
Right. So you bring it in-house. Why don't you talk about building that following and getting people that know who you are and what you're doing and what that's meant for you and your business?
Well, I'm just going to have to say all roads lead to Alice Cooper.
Okay.
Because when we started our company years ago, we really launched it in 2011. It was just Paul Woodford and I, who is now my husband. It was just the two of us. So one of us was building it. The other one was getting clients and marketing. And I knew really quickly on that the Chamber of Commerce and the B&Is weren't going to be a fit for us because it would take too long to build those relationships. So I opted to work with the nonprofits and with the boards. And Alice Cooper's team came to me and asked us to host their very first Rock the Runway. And it was easy, yes, for us, but I had to let them know, we're a brand new magazine and we don't have the following. And Alice and Cheryl, being gracious the way they are, they said, that's okay. And we've been with them ever since.
That's wonderful. So you just built a good relationship from being out there, being seen, and being authentic to the way that you were building your business.
Well, it really wasn't even about us. It was really about, first of all, building the presence in the community. But I have always believed that when you help others, it just comes back to you.
Right. Well, they saw an ability for you. I mean, I think they reached out to you because I guess you had built some trust. You had been present. You probably showing up for meetings when you said you would. You were doing certain things that gave them that little bit of trust to kind of get that ball rolling.
Well, I think so. And I have a media background. I wrote columns and I did television here locally. So I did already have a name, but what's really interesting, back when we started promoting, again, I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona, Cowboy Town. We have a postmodern feminist media company in Cowboy Town, and everybody loved print back then. So
Right.
it was a good fit for us because back then doing print was like pushing a truck uphill, and
Yeah.
Alice took a chance on us.
Hey,
And
Leah,
so,
I have to jump in here real quickly. I have a feeling you had someone or something that was part of your inspiration to join those nonprofit boards. Speak about that for a moment.
Sure. Well, before I was able to launch SmartFemme, I was a dating and relationship columnist and TV correspondent. And in 2009, my then freshman, Lauren Elizabeth, called me from NAU. She had been in the dorm rec room with her friends, and one of my TV segments came on. And she was absolutely horrified. Oh my God, Mom, you're perpetuating the Cinderella syndrome and the man's the plan, and that's not the way you raised me. So she challenged me to create something that would educate, inspire, and empower women. And out of the mouths of babes, there's nothing worse than being called out by your own daughter. And I realized she was right. And I had to take a look at what I was doing because I was in corporate America for years. And, the glass ceiling is really there for women. And I work twice as hard. And sadly, now it's 2018, about to be 2019, and it's still there. So I'm so grateful that I listened to her. And it took us, and I would love to say that we launched in 2009, but unfortunately, my ex-husband was in a really bad motorcycle accident and was in a coma, and it was 16 months of rehab putting him back together. And so I had to park SmartFemme for a while. And then right after I got him back to work, I was diagnosed with a rare form of skin cancer, and they took the right side of my face off. And it was over a year and multiple surgeries putting me back together again. And first of all, it's a blessing that I could even be on camera. I mean, the magazine was great because I didn't have to be on camera. And I never in a million years thought I'd be on camera again. But it gave me something to focus on, because I'm just going to say this. When you lose everything, and I lost my face, my career, my security, my identity, if you will. And I had to focus on something other than me because I didn't have a face, and I'd been a media personality. So it was a really dark time. And when you're in those dark times, the only thing that you can do is focus on other people and a greater purpose.
yeah,
That really speaks loudly to your view of tomorrow, because where you were at that moment in that today was not a good place.
It was an awful place.
But you looked way beyond that, and that's why I see you are where you are today.
Well, thank you. And I will say it's Paul Woodford who forced me to, when I told him I got divorce papers and I didn't have a face, it was really scary just getting on a plane. I didn't have a face. I'm all bandaged up. I wanted to be the invisible woman. And I remember this little girl pointing at me, look, Mommy, there's a monster lady. And I wanted to crawl into a little ball and get in the back of the plane and disappear. But I did get there. Oh, somebody's got a little baby too, a little fur baby. But that which doesn't kill you truly does make you stronger. And I'm so grateful to Paul because he really forced me to believe that I had more to offer than my face.
right. And you had, so at what point did this vision come into being? It sounds like before some of these bumps in the roads.
The vision was there in 2009. It really was. Yeah. But I remember in 2010, Paul flew me out to New York, bless his heart. He covered up all the mirrors and says, I'm here to help you keep it. He had a 13-year-old and he the picture. It's really important. It's something
I think
we need to do.
that's powerful and that's important. And that tells a lot of people that if you do want to be the influencer of tomorrow and you start and everything doesn't go to plan, you got to just reinvent the wheel and keep moving forward, because you can get there eventually. Something about a support system, I think, is an important lesson here, but also keeping that focus on the plan.
It is. And I'm just going to say, guys, I studied 35 plus years ago to be in broadcasting and everything. And I never really did it till I was 40. So dreams don't have an expiration date.
Yep. It takes time. And so build the dream, start executing. And then now you've picked up a lot of momentum lately. You've had your conference. You've got another version of your conference coming. You've obviously had local events in Phoenix. You've got a successful online magazine. A lot of stuff has started happening. How do you keep building that following? I mean, when somebody says, "Hey, I want to become an influencer," I know it can be a lot of different directions, but how do you start building people that are going to help you and follow you and benefit from your work? How do you just start that ball rolling?
I think you really have to have a vision for what you want in a strategy, but it really has to be about other people. It's not about becoming an influencer. It's creating value for other people. And I think that's where most small business owners, they're so worried about the ROI that they forget to create value.
Right. Yeah. So it's about what you deliver to other people, which is, if you go back to sales 101, when whatever you offer the other person has to be more valuable than what they're giving you in exchange, right? So I think everybody should put that in the back of their head. What am I offering the other people, and is it more valuable than the money I'm asking for them? And I think you're right. A lot of people lose track of that equation in the process.
Well, I work a lot with people on personal branding, and a brand, whether it's a personal brand, and let's just talk about a personal brand. People who have had iconic influencing personal brands are like Oprah Winfrey and Steve Jobs. I mean, they are icons, but it's because they created value. And if you look at really what a brand is, whether it's personal or a corporate brand, it really is just a promise to deliver.
Right. And people expect value. Right. And they're going to expect some consistency. So I think that's definitely a great lesson for somebody who's looking to build a following, right? Is to have a brand based on whatever value you offer and be consistent in offering that value. That's probably one of the early steps in building a following.
It is.
And then, so now you have the Smart Femme Entrepreneur Network, which, I participate in, George participates in. We love the online community.
Thank you.
There. How do you get something like that going? So, this is a Facebook group that's getting quite large, a lot of activity and quality content. How do you get a ball rolling like that, Leah?
Well, first of all, you have conversations with like you and George, and you really create deep, meaningful relationships with other people. I think a lot of entrepreneurs think they need to do it alone, and you know what? I'm good at what I do, but Shawn, I'm not an attorney, and George, I'm a professional speaker, but I are deemed a professional speaker, but I consider myself more of a professional who speaks. So I stay in my lane and I can own that lane, but I bring in powerful people that I want to do business with and I want to play with in the sandbox, like you and George.
Yeah.
Yeah. We always enjoy that interaction with you and the community there. And then you've gone bigger, right? You've got a conference coming up this year. You did your first version of it last year, quite successful. A lot of people were there. Got another one coming up here. What's it take to get to the point where you can do something like that?
Frustration. You
hide it very well, Leah. You hide that frustration extremely well.
Well, it really was frustration for me as far as the book industry and the speaking industry. I wrote my first book and I wanted to do more in the speaking world. And sadly, there's a lot of charlatans out there and people who promise the world and don't deliver. And I thought, you know what? I need to learn this stuff. And if I'm experiencing it, I know a lot of other people were And
Right.
so that's why I created it. I wanted to create the Smart Femme Summit so that we could really help book authors, speakers, and entrepreneurs, because if you're a book author or a speaker, you're an entrepreneur by default.
Right. And I quoted you the other day. I was writing an article for a magazine, and we were talking about sales and entrepreneurship, and I quoted you, Leah, saying, if you're in sales, you're an entrepreneur.
You are.
Because and I think that's true for a lot of people. So you have to have that entrepreneurial bend to build that, right? And I think that's a big part of building a following, is finding what works and what doesn't work in a changing landscape.
Especially media, it's a moving target. As soon as you figure it out, they change it again. But you can't lose your vision. And my vision was to create value, to empower, inspire, and educate women. That I have never moved from that. The one thing that I have had to do was I had to inform people what postmodern feminist is. First of all, I don't burn my bras. And I love men. You will never see me bashing men.
Right.
I raised two, I'm married to one, and I work with them. And I've always worked in male-dominated professions, so.
And many professions are male-dominated, to be, just where we are in the world's history, right? I mean, we're still trying to get more women into the managerial ranks and more women participating in long-term direction. So most industries are going to have a heavy male component.
And it's funny because I did an interview with Lisa Guerrero in 2017 of Inside Edition, and she was the very first male or female sportscaster on the field and with the NFL. And one of the things she said really resonated with me, and I found that to be true, is really men have not held us back for a long time. We hold ourselves back and we hold each other back. And yes, there are those occasional men, but I would have to say it hasn't been men holding us back for a long time now.
Hey,
Go ahead.
I am a father of two attractive, intelligent young women, both in their 30s, one in a professional job in the San Francisco Bay Area, another an academic in Kentucky. And one of the reasons I was so thrilled that I knew you were going to be our first interviewee in this long-running series, and that's the vision I have, is because you're a woman who's figured out her path, her values, and that value I hear over and over and over from you is providing value for other people. And that's such a critical piece in today's workplace and in the future. So being an influencer, I hear you say, is provide value for others.
You have to. And I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, and they're so worried about making the sale that they forget to really create amazing product or service for their client. And you actually have to talk to them, but you have to listen first. It's funny. I've had Jeep for about 7 years, and I'm going in my 9th year with Lexus. It's not rocket scientist. It's not rocket science. And I don't want to be one of those salespeople on the hamster wheel every month, just going out there. I'd rather create value, and I would rather have long-term, really deep relationships with my clients than something really superficial and a turn and burn.
Right. So one of our themes is tomorrow. We've talked a lot about your history, how you built what you're doing right now. What do you see for tomorrow? What do you see for yourself and for the industry, or what does influence of tomorrow mean to you?
Again, it means highlighting somebody other than yourself, staying persistent, and again, going back to school, because you have to be flexible. And this is my 3rd time going back to school since I started Smart Femme. You have to stay current.
Yeah, you've got to get a lot of information and know that the landscape's changing. And I personally, my opinion is, I think we're going to see more and more change as technology rolls out. We're going to be in periods of disruption. Careers are going to change very quickly. And whatever strategy you have now may have to be adjusted to get to your goal 5 or 10 years from now.
Oh, I think it's going to be quicker than that. I think you're looking, what I'm seeing in the media is it's a change and a shift every 6 months. It just depends on how big the shift is. But you have to have the right mindset. And again, I go back to value.
Yep.
And Jim Rohn said it really well, and I so believe this. You are the sum of the 5 people you hang with.
Yep.
So you have to make sure that they're good. And if you are the smartest person in your business, then your company will stay the same and you will not be able to grow it. You need to bring in people who are smarter than you are.
Yep.
So, Lea, you referred to going back to school. Elaborate on that, please. I'm sure there's a lot of depth in your thinking and what that really looks like beyond just words.
Well, digital marketing. Digital marketing is changing. I've been to school once for that. Now I'm taking courses on it again. Despite being in front of the camera years ago, I went back to film school, in 2014, because I realized that being in front of the camera, I had spent a fortune on production for production I couldn't use. And you can't direct somebody if you don't know the technology and you are not able to do it yourself, then you can't direct somebody else to.
Yep.
And I was the oldest and slowest person in school, as I am today, and it's always scary, but I do it anyway.
Very interesting. Yeah. So a lot of retraining, relearning, and readjusting. So what are your big goals? What are you working towards, Lea, within your business?
It's funny because I've been on a 2-year quest on my goal, and I've met all the good goals. And that's why I'm creating a mastermind right now, because I'm trying to decide. I have a few things going on in my head, but I think I want to do more conferences.
Mm-hmm.
I want more global speaking, but I'm about ready to launch a print magazine, a luxury print magazine for the back of my husband's jet charter company, and that will be going into private airports across the country.
Right. And I think that's fantastic, and that will help people see what you're doing in the new context, right? And you're really, that's an adjustment from what I understand from the market changes, right? People are crowded online. Now you're found a place to find some high-end people that are spending their time differently. You've been taking market information in and adjusting your product offerings.
Well, one of the things that I learned really early on, that Smart Femme attracts luxury brands. Mm-hmm. And I've helped my husband build his jet charter company. And interestingly enough, he flies celebrities and everybody around, and everybody else's jet charter company is in magazines in the back of my husband's planes. And he came and it was brought to his attention by a celebrity, and I won't say who she was. Yeah. But Paul says, interesting you should say that. My wife has a magazine. I'm going to have to take this up with her. Right. But Paul and I've worked to build Smart Femme together, and it is so fun to help him create his dream. And something else just kind of happened. If you don't mind, I'm going to jump in. One of the pilots that he just hired has been putting on celebrity golf tournaments for years. And he just started working, and he came into my studio and said, I want to work with you. And I'm working with everybody from Catherine Zeta-Jones to Charles Barkley, and how can we collaborate? So it's funny sometimes. And I'm a Capricorn, so I tend to pounce. But one of the things that I'm learning is build a really good brand, sit back, and if you're doing good things will come to you. Yep. And so him and I are going to be working on some celebrity golf tournaments. So I don't golf, but I do amazing cards.
There you go. Sounds like that ball's rolling the right direction there. So that's awesome.
But it builds value for his company too. It builds value for Smart Femme, because this will be Smart Femme Entertainment. This will be different than our Post Media. It'll be food, dining, travel, luxury, marketed for his company. But it'll help our company. But in the meantime, it's just going to be a lot of fun.
Right. Well, and I think that's a truth. There's a lot of these skill sets of influence. They are cross-sectional, right? You have the magazine, and then the airline or charter company. They're all interrelated. The same skills will help you from one medium to another.
Well, because I know my brand. Again, you have to know your personal brand, and you have to understand not only your target market, but your psychodemographic. And, you know, we've done that work way up front, long time ago. And it hasn't changed much, except that we're noticing the younger demographic is really starting to take notice.
Yeah. George, are you going to jump in?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, you mentioned a moment ago, Leah, about Jim Rohn and those 5 people closest to you. So I'm going to ask you, who are I'm going to say for 5, but who are the top influencers in your life, and how or why were they so important to making you who you are today?
First and foremost, I'm going to say my husband and business partner, Paul Woodford, because for the first time in my life, I have somebody who is challenging me to be the very best. He's seen me without a face and at my worst, and he has my back, but he always challenges me to do better. And I think you have to have that. A second influencer, believe it or not, is, I said it before, Alice Cooper. Already to Alice, because I've been working with him since we started with the company, and he's created iconic status, but he is so approachable and so nice. And again, it's about delivering value and being a good person and giving back. And I think that's just huge. Another really big influencer is Shawn McBride.
Who's that?
Agreed.
I'm going to just share this with you. When I wanted to create the conference, I created a mastermind. There were 8 of us, women from the National Speakers Association, and then there were 2. And I talked to Shawn about it early on, and people just kind of laughed at me. Oh, you know, they wanted to jump in, but when it came to actually doing something, they all left. And Shawn was there.
Yeah.
Brad Zollis. Brad also, it's funny, the women left, but the men were there. You know, most of my influencers, I'm going to just have to say, are men, you know, because they just, they don't laugh at me, and they will roll up their sleeves, and they're the first ones there. And I will say, I learned a lot from Jeffrey Hazlett, you know, some of it what to do, some of it what not to do when it comes to speaking and when it comes to creating my own television shows. I was with the C-Suite Network, and I saw what he did, and it worked really good for his brand, but I recognized very early on it wasn't a fit for my brand. Because his brand is so powerful that I was afraid that my brand would get lost in his brand. And he's the one that taught me to think big, act bigger. So,
Gotcha.
You know, and I'm just going to say Larry Wingett. I have been a fan of Larry's, the Pitbull self-development, because we met years ago in Texas in a green room, and I've read all of his books. His wife is wonderful. I need to get him on my show. I need to get him on your show, Shawn.
Love that one.
You know what? He's so real, and he doesn't mince words at all.
That's for sure.
You know, but he's a good old teddy bear.
Yep.
And he speaks the truth. And right now, in a world full of falsehoods, I think that's really important.
Good. You've given us some great ideas and people to look at. One final question from me, Leah. Let's look ahead into tomorrow. Mm-hmm. If we could have this same or a similar conversation 1 year from today, describe how the past year has really held your attention, helped you accomplish the things that you wanted to be and do, so that we can have an idea of where you see yourself tomorrow, as in a year from now.
Goal setting is really, really important. And I do well with deadlines. Being in the media, I find that if I don't put a deadline on something, it never happens. I have to have deadlines. and I have to have goals.
Yep.
Cool.
Did I answer your question, George?
Yeah, I'm also trying to draw out of you some of those special events or opportunities that you see in your tomorrow that'll put you where you want to be 1 year from today.
Okay. My goal is bigger and better conferences, better TV, but I really would like to be speaking globally and having the conversations for women that we should be having. They're not just US conversations. I believe these are global conversations for women. I want to see the glass ceiling gone in my lifetime.
Mhm. And I think you've already started on the global speaking, right? I mean, we've got, you've been to Australia recently, you're coming up to Ireland here in the near future, so you're starting to get the word out there, but I think, you know, for the audience or for people that might be watching, you're available to help in other countries as well.
I really would love to be in China, Japan, and Saudi Arabia, because women are still not where they need to be.
Right. And I think that's going to be an interesting future conversation, something we've talked about on my show, Future Done Right. Lea, thanks for joining us today. I knew it would be great to talk with you, and thanks for sharing so much about your history and how you've gotten where you are and helping some people with their paths to tomorrow.
And Shawn, thank you for being there and believing in me when nobody else would.
I knew you had it in you, you know, and I knew you had a good dream and you had the passion to do it. So it's been fun to watch in the time we've known each other, watch you grow this. Lea, how do people find your resources? So if somebody's just curious, they want to check you out, they want to see your communities, how do they check you out?
Well, they can hit me up on Facebook, Lea Woodford. I would really recommend that they check out our fabulous, and you both are part of my Smart Femme Entrepreneur Network Facebook group. But I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, and of course, go to smartfemme.com, our award-winning online magazine.
Yep. Great. Well, folks, thanks for joining us. You can check out other episodes at the Influencer of Tomorrow YouTube channel. We have other guests, other interviews there, so go over there, check out the other videos we have. You can also reach out to me or George, particularly if you have a great person, a great guest to recommend to us. We're looking for more wonderful people to interview to really collect these stories. And you can expect a book and some articles and other things coming from us all about being an influencer of tomorrow. So thanks for joining us today, folks. Lea, thanks for being there. A lot of fun.
Absolute honor.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.